hello, and fuck Cape Shit. Welcome to another Shittywebcomics Weekly, brought to you by our Subscribe Star backers. Donate to our Subscribe Star to support us and get access to the hidden truth that Kiwi Farms is afraid to talk about. And that sounds like ego or vanity, but it actually isn't. It's unironically true. Kiwi Farms was simping and white knighting for people that we are not afraid to talk about the stuff that they should have been talking about.
And not because it's like some amazing drama that we're trying to farm. It's because these people are actively harming the industry.
The medium, way bigger than the industry, of course. The media. I mean, it's easy to get those things sort of interchangeable. The comics industry, the comics medium, the not just that, but like the entertainment industry in a way is part of the problem.
Race, the entire human species.
Yes, civilization, culture, all of these things are harmed by the same things. And one of the things that they are harmed by is fake infiltrators, subversives. And no better subversives than the people that, ironically, Kiwi Farms is afraid to touch, which is actually what makes them subversive, is when people give a pass to certain types of people. And you know, it's not just Kiwi Farms, of course. It's a lot of people on YouTube, or a lot of the fans of whatever YouTubers who are subversives and infiltrators and that kind of thing. So instead of, supporting those people, you should support the people who actually have seen the truth, have seen beyond the beyond even. But anyways, speaking of seeing beyond the beyond, continuing with Booty Royale, with very, very Americanized, localized. In fact, I noticed a lot of the translation. I finally read through the first volume, the first 6 chapters, I think, of this comic myself last night after reading, because I thought it was interesting at first. Just skimming the pages that you sent me for us to do a Shitty Webcomics Weekly episodes about. But then afterwards, I was like, you know what? I definitely have not read the first chapter. I think I read the first chapter, but not past that. And I was like, you know what? Let me just blow through the first.
I recommend that you actually read it.
Like the first book, Tankobon, I think they're called, which is, the collection of chapters into a single book, into a single volume, basically. That's usually around 150, or sometimes just 100 pages, something like that. But, so I read it, and it was actually better than I thought it was. It was also way more lewd. Way more nudity. I mean, the first couple of pages have just her asshole on display pretty much in its entirety, except for like one G-string. It's like, oh, okay. But still, when they draw all the rest of the detail, it's like pretty much she's already naked. And so, we won't be showing that. But what we will be showing is some of the story stuff. In fact, we were mentioning in the previous videos, the previous episodes that we did about this comic, is that you see her going through the hardships that you may actually be rooting for at some point. And I really was. I thought it was an interesting story in that it doesn't try to pretend. It's not that fucking Tenshi Muyo endless cock-teasing bullshit where it's like, oh no, he almost saw her panties. He's surrounded by 8 incredibly hot chicks who are all at least 20 years old, so they're definitely of age. But you see, he can't just beast fuck the shit out of a single one of them because, and then just a big blank space that is never filled in forever and ever and ever and ever. And that was anime in the 90s, really. A bunch of crap. Just a bunch of shit. Overrated,
shit,
dumb, boring, unfunny comedy. and then occasionally spiced up with maybe 10 to 30 seconds of
And
actually
Weeaboos
decent
thought it was
animation
great.
action.
Weeaboos thought it was genius.
Yeah, when it was really just like stuff like Tenchi Muyo was, uh, I can't even say on par. I was going to say on par with Three's Company, but actually Three's Company was objectively better than Tenchi Muyo ever could hope to be in a million, billion, more billion years.
40,000
Million. But a good example of an actual funny story is something more like this. Funny comedic anime has actually gotten funnier over the past 10 years to the point where it's legitimately comedic in a funny way where it's situational based instead of just based on puns or the same old cliches. To quote Bob Seger, or really to quote Metallica, the same old cliches of he almost saw her panties and then had a nose burrito, lalu, whatever the fuck. Just that repeated 1,000 times in a replacement of comedy. In this, instead of the constant cock teasing though, by the end of volume 1, she's firmly established as wanting to be in a sexual relationship with a man, because she's 18 years old and still a virgin. And
it's very triggering to all the feminists and lesbians in the audience.
And we will be getting to that in a future episode of us covering this, because we plan to just milk the shit out of this this comic for free, easy episodes. But one of her main rivals turned friends, which is kind of a cliche in anime too, of course. But
it's a cliche, but this one's very earned.
Yeah,
this one's especially fun and amusing.
And there's an interesting twist on it in this. And we'll get to that when we get to that page, which is like one of the next one. Well, actually, not really the next one. So we're just going to cover, I think, one page per episode. And so they should be short episodes. If you want the longer content, just go to our Subscribe Star. That's where the real main stuff is. And in fact, probably a compilation of all of these episodes already pre-recorded and combined into a single video. So in this page, they're establishing she was in the 100-man... It was a 100-man kumite, where if she loses, they all get to legally rape her. A legal form of rape.
It's completely consensual.
Yes, but the manager of the fight here is talking about, instead of using sexy things to fight, he says you shall be using your musculature to pummel thirsty perverts. The word thirsty clearly is localization. There's a couple examples of that are, I guess you could say, cringe, the way that they would even put the word cringe into the dialogue of this. Thirsty is something that I think kind of won't exactly last as slang, but I think still, like in 10 years, you kind of might understand what it means. But
it communicates well enough.
I think if they said horny perverts instead, or desperate, something like that, or even just perverts, because, it's pretty obvious that's something that the localizer added. And I think this is from an official translation instead of a fan translation, which usually would be... that is one thing about... The localization in this is not terrible, but it is also unnecessary.
I mean, it's typical of weeaboos also. It's like, oh, I'm being really hilarious. Those are the kinds of people you would see writing game facts, where it's like, I did all my own jokes in my game fact. And it's like, no wonder it's not funny.
And then they also don't tell you how to do the boss fight and then just throw in a major plot spoiler out of nowhere. Instead of the actual strategy to fight them, just hit them. And then you find out that he's your father afterwards. It's like, oh, gee, thanks. But yeah, this is one of the things where localizers... And now, again, it's not terrible in this. It's not as bad as a lot of other localizers. But a lot of localizers, especially in the official capacity, they think they're the ones being funny. They think, I'm the comedian. It's time for me to show my chops, and I'm gonna put in
I
this
have a
relatively
good
recent.
humor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're gonna make sure to tell you how they have a good sense of humor out of nowhere, before saying extreme right wing elements. But anyways, the manager guy says, you use your musculature to pummel thirsty perverts until exhausted you become a live sacrifice, a modern Amazon. And she says, curse the sunlight of the southern island and my healthy beauty. And there's one thing that is decent about the translation is that it goes into some of the slang, the actual real life slang of Okinawa, sort of a southern island part of Japan, I think, that is has a bit of its own culture, a bit more martial arts based, in a unique, specific way that's considered distinct from the rest of what's considered mainland Japan, I think. That's the impression I get from reading the first volume. And so, in a way, this comic is actually a historical, cultural document, an artifact. It's very informative. You can learn a lot from it. So I'd recommend it just on that basis alone. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. So he says, it is time, put on your gi. And they say, hey, just a job. They're actors too. If you run into trouble, we'll cut. She says, thanks. And she's like, I can do this. I mean, I have to. And so she's gearing herself up for it's trying to establish that it's like, oh, it's not, not like they're gonna really legally rape you. That's just the premise of the video you're doing, you see. You understand. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Like Rocco's Marlon.
I'm gonna do it.
I will do it. Yeah. So what happens? Well, check it out next time on the next episode, or if you donate to our Subscribe Star, you can probably watch the entire series all in one big compilation video. So enjoy that. Otherwise, like, share, or not even otherwise, but as well, like, share, comment, recomment, uncomment, reshare, and should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.